the broken summit captain. Sarah Chen stood at the massive observation window of Station Nexus, watching the swirling colors of the dead star's plasma winds dance across the void. Behind her, the most important diplomatic meeting in galactic history was falling apart, and she could feel the weight of humanity's future pressing down on her shoulders. The neutral station had been chosen specifically for this summit. Built in the gravitational dead zone between three star systems, it belonged to no one and everyone. For 6 months, the galaxy had been torn apart by border conflicts, trade disputes, and what the aliens called human expansion aggression. Today was supposed to end all of that. Dr. Marcus Webb, her scientific advisor, appeared at her elbow. His weathered face showed the strain of the past 3 days of negotiations. Sarah, they're not going to budge. The crystalline hegemony is backing the insectoid swarm's demands completely. Sarah nodded without turning away from the view. Through the transparent aluminum, she could see the alien fleet formations holding position around the station. The crystalline ships of the hegemony looked like floating cathedrals made of living diamond. The swarm vessels resembled massive hives with countless smaller craft swarming around them like angry wasps. Further out, the energy being's ships appeared as pure light contained in geometric force fields. What exactly are they demanding now? Sarah asked, though she already knew the answer would be worse than yesterday. Marcus consulted his datapad. Complete submission to something they call the Galactic Oversight Protocol. Earth surrenders all military vessels larger than a patrol craft. We turn over all weapons technology for inspection and approval. Mandatory genetic modification of all humans to reduce what they call our aggressive tendencies. Population control, limiting us to 5 billion people maximum. Sarah's reflection in the window showed no emotion, but her hands clenched into fists behind her back. And in return, they graciously allow humanity to continue existing as a client species under their protection. The irony was bitter. 6 months ago, humanity had been quietly mining asteroids and terraforming dead worlds in their own small corner of the galaxy. Then the crystalline hegemony had decided that human expansion was happening too quickly. The insectoid swarm agreed that humans were consuming resources too efficiently. The Energy Collective calculated that human population growth exceeded acceptable parameters. What followed were the border incidents. Human mining ships destroyed, terraforming equipment sabotaged, colonies cut off from supply lines. When humanity had asked for negotiations, the aliens had agreed, but only on their terms. "Captain Chen," came a melodic voice from behind them. They turned to see Thalmora, the primary representative of the crystalline hegemony. Her body was humanoid, but made entirely of living crystal that refracted light into rainbow patterns. "The council is ready for your final answer." Sarah and Marcus followed the crystal being back into the main conference chamber. The room was a perfect sphere, with each delegation seated on platforms arranged at equal distances from the center. The human platform was modest, just 2 chairs and a small table. The alien platforms were elaborate displays of their civilizations, power and technology. Vextar of the insectoid swarm clicked his mandibles impatiently as they entered. His 6-foot-tall body was covered in chitinous armor that gleamed under the chamber's lights. Compound eyes tracked their movement, while his 4 arms gestured in what Sarah had learned was aggressive body language. "Humans delay too long," Vextar buzzed through his translator. "Decision simple: submit or face consequences of defiance." The Energy Collective's representative, Zephyral, spoke without a physical form, its words appearing directly in everyone's minds. "The mathematical probability of human survival without acceptance approaches 0. Logical choice is clear." Sarah took her seat calmly. Marcus settled beside her, his hand resting near the emergency communication device that would send their final report back to Earth. The weight of representing 8 billion humans had never felt heavier. Thalmora's crystalline form chimed softly as she spoke. "Captain Chen, we have been patient with your species' reluctance to accept galactic civilization's guidance. But patience has limits. Your answer, please." Sarah stood slowly, her dress uniform crisp and clean, despite 3 days of tense negotiations. Around the chamber, alien eyes, sensors, and consciousness fields focused on her. She could feel the expectation, the certainty that she would bow to the inevitable. "Honored representatives," Sarah began, her voice carrying clearly in the chamber's perfect acoustics. "I want to thank you for your patience during these negotiations. You have made your position very clear." Vextar's wings buzzed with satisfaction. Wisdom at last from primitive species. Sarah's smile was cold as winter on Pluto. "You misunderstand. I'm thanking you for showing us exactly who you are and what you intend for humanity." The chamber fell silent. Even the background hum of the station's systems seemed to quiet, as every alien representative realized something had changed in the human's tone. "For 6 months, you have attacked our ships, destroyed our colonies, and murdered our people," Sarah continued. "You called it border enforcement. When we asked for talks, you demanded we come to you, accept your conditions, follow your rules." Dr. Webb began gathering their materials, his movements careful and deliberate. The gesture was not lost on the alien observers. "We came here in good faith," Sarah said, her voice getting harder with each word. "We offered compromise, cooperation, mutual benefit. But you don't want partners. You want pets." Thalmora's crystal form flickered with agitation. "Captain Chen, you cannot seriously be considering rejecting our offer. We outnumber your species 1,000 to 1. Our technology is centuries ahead of yours. Your little fleet couldn't possibly challenge even one of our civilizations," Sarah picked up her datapad and closed it with a sharp click that echoed in the silence. "You're absolutely right about one thing. We can't challenge you." She paused, letting that sink in. "The question you should be asking is whether you can challenge us." Vextar's mandibles clacked in what might have been laughter. "Primitive human makes threat? Your entire military might equal single swarm battle group. You think you know? Our military might?" Sarah asked, genuine curiosity in her voice. "Based on what? The patrol ships you've seen? The mining equipment you've destroyed? The colony defense platforms you've studied?" Dr. Webb stood and moved toward the exit, carrying their diplomatic materials. Sarah followed but turned back at the threshold. "You've been watching us for decades," she said. "Studying our technology, our capabilities, our weaknesses. You know exactly how strong you think we are." Her smile became predatory. "You're about to find out how wrong you are." Zephyrol's mental voice carried urgency. "Captain, you cannot leave. Negotiations are not complete." "Yes, they are," Sarah replied. "You offered slavery dressed up as protection. We decline. Then you choose extinction," Thalmora said, her crystal form pulsing with angry light. "We will give you 1 standard week to reconsider. After that, we will demonstrate why compliance was your only option." Sarah paused at the exit. "1 week? That's generous. We'll only need 3 days." As the chamber doors sealed behind them, Dr. Webb activated his emergency transmitter. The coded message that shot toward Earth was brief. "Negotiations failed. Protocol 7 authorized. Repeat. Protocol 7 authorized." Behind them, the alien representatives were already planning humanity's punishment. They spoke of orbital bombardments, systematic destruction of human infrastructure, and the eventual reduction of Earth to a client world suitable only for resource extraction. None of them noticed the small device that Dr. Webb had left attached to the underside of the human platform. It would monitor their conversations for the next 72 hours, sending everything back to Earth through quantum entanglement communications that no alien technology could detect or jam. As their shuttle departed Station Nexus, Sarah watched the alien fleets through the viewport. Thousands of ships representing civilizations that had dominated their regions of space for millennia. They were confident, superior, certain of their victory. "Do you think they'll actually give us a week?" Marcus asked. Sarah was reading preliminary reports from Earth on her secured tablet. Industrial complexes across human space were already receiving new priority orders. Shipyards that had been idle were powering up. Research facilities that had been classified beyond top secret were opening sealed sections. "It doesn't matter," she said quietly. "They gave us something much more valuable than time." "What's that?" Sarah's reflection in the viewport showed the expression that had made her one of Earth's most effective negotiators. It was the look of someone who had just been underestimated by their enemies. They showed us their true intentions. Now we know exactly what we're fighting for. The shuttle's engines powered up for the jump to Earth. Behind them, Station Nexus hung in space like a monument to failed diplomacy. The aliens were already composing demands for humanity's surrender, calculating the resources they would extract. From human worlds planning the reduction of human population to manageable levels. What they didn't know was that every word they spoke was being transmitted to a species that had spent 2 centuries preparing for exactly this moment. Earth had been ready for galactic contact long before it happened. They had planned for cooperation, for trade, for peaceful coexistence. They had also planned for war. The awakening Protocol Admiral Victoria Stone stood in the war room buried 2 miles beneath the Colorado mountains, watching as humanity's true strength awakened for the first time in 200 years. The massive holographic display showed Earth and its surrounding systems, but the view was nothing like what any alien observer had ever seen. Hidden shipyards carved into asteroids were lighting up across the outer system. Facilities that had been disguised as mining operations or scientific research stations were revealing their true purpose. In the belt between Mars and Jupiter, construction platforms that alien scouts had cataloged as civilian infrastructure were transforming into something entirely different. Lieutenant Commander Alex Rivera approached with a tablet full of status reports. His young face was grim but determined. Admiral, all Protocol 7 assets are responding. We have confirmation from shipyards Alpha through Zeta. Total construction capacity is at 400% of previously reported levels. Victoria nodded, her gray eyes never leaving the display. At 65, she had spent her entire career preparing for this day, hoping it would never come, but knowing it probably would. What's our timeline? First wave launches in 18 hours. Full deployment in 72 hours, exactly as Captain Chen requested. Alex hesitated. Ma'am, are we really going to do this? The aliens have thousands of ships. Victoria turned to look at him, and Alex saw something in her expression that made him straighten unconsciously. Commander, what do you think those thousands of ships are armed with? Energy weapons, kinetic projectiles, plasma cannons, standard galactic military technology, all of which we've been studying for the past 50 years through our deep space observation networks. Victoria gestured to another section of the display, where technical readouts scrolled past at impossible speeds. We know their shield frequencies, their armor compositions, their reactor designs. We know how their ships maneuver, how their weapons cycle, how their crews think. Dr. Elena Vasquez emerged from the secure elevator, her lab coat replaced by a military uniform she hadn't worn in 20 years. Admiral, the Special Projects Division is ready for deployment. All 7 prototype systems have been tested and approved for combat use. Victoria smiled for the first time in days. Elena's special projects were humanity's ace in the hole, technologies that no alien civilization had even theorized possible. How long to install them on the first wave ships? They're already installed, Elena replied. We've been retrofitting the fleet for the past 6 months ever since our intelligence indicated possible hostile contact. Alex looked confused. Intelligence? What intelligence? Victoria and Elena exchanged glances. The young commander had the clearance to know about Protocol 7, but not about how long humanity had been preparing for it. Commander, Victoria said carefully, what do you think we've been doing for the past 2 centuries? Just sitting in our little corner of the galaxy, hoping nobody would notice us? The truth was more complex than even most military officers knew. Humanity's expansion into space had been slow and careful by design. Every colony ship that had departed Earth had carried not just settlers, but intelligence-gathering equipment. Every mining operation in the outer system had been paired with deep space monitoring stations. Every scientific expedition had been tasked with studying potential threats. For 200 years, humanity had been watching the galaxy, learning its languages, studying its technology, and preparing for the day when peaceful coexistence might not be possible. Admiral, came Captain Chen's voice over the secure communication system. "We're receiving intelligence from the monitoring device at Station Nexus. The aliens are planning their attack." Victoria activated the main display. Chen's image appeared, alongside intercepts from the alien conversations. The crystalline hegemony was assembling what they called a punishment fleet of 2,000 ships. The insectoid swarm was preparing biological weapons designed to reduce human aggression through airborne pathogens. The Energy Collective was calculating the optimal population reduction to make humanity manageable. "Timeline?" Victoria asked. "They're planning to demonstrate their power by destroying our outer colonies first. Mars, Europa, and Titan are primary targets. They want to force Earth to surrender by showing us the consequences of defiance." Alex stared at the intelligence reports. "They're going to attack civilian targets?" "It gets worse," Chen continued. "They're planning to use human survivors as test subjects for genetic modification research. They want to create a docile human subspecies suitable for labor." The war room fell silent except for the hum of computers processing targeting data for weapons that had never been fired in anger. Victoria had seen many battles in her long career, but never one with stakes this high. "Dr. Vasquez, what's the status on the Prometheus systems?" Elena consulted her tablet. "All 7 prototypes are operational. The phase displacement generators are installed on Alpha Squadron. The quantum disruption torpedoes are loaded on Beta Squadron. The reality, anchor systems are ready for defensive deployment." Alex looked lost. "I've never heard of any of those weapons." "Because they didn't exist until last week," Elena explained. "We've been developing theoretical weapons for decades, waiting for the moment when we knew what kind of threats we'd be facing. Once Captain Chen sent us detailed scans of alien ship technology, we could finally build the specific tools we needed." Victoria activated another section of the display, showing human fleet positions across known space. The aliens thought they were tracking a few dozen patrol craft and some civilian vessels. What they were actually seeing was the tip of humanity's iceberg. "Commander Rivera, transmit activation codes to all sleeper assets. It's time to show our hand." Across the galaxy, humans who had been living quiet lives as traders, scientists, and diplomers began receiving coded messages. Dr. Sarah Kim on the hegemony border world of Crystallis accessed hidden equipment in her geology lab. Engineer Mike Santos on the swarm trade station of Hive Prime activated monitoring systems built into the station's power grid. Diplomat Jennifer Walsh on the Energy Collective's capital world began uploading 20 years of intelligence data to quantum transmitters hidden in her embassy. The aliens had been so focused on humanity's visible presence that they had never noticed the invisible network of observers and assets that had been quietly gathering information for decades. "Admiral," Alex said, studying the fleet deployment orders. "According to this, we have over 1,500 combat vessels ready for deployment. Our public records show maybe 24 patrol ships. Our public records show what we wanted them to show," Victoria replied. "Every human colony has been building ships in hidden facilities. Every mining operation has been testing weapon systems. Every scientific expedition has been scouting potential battlefields. The first wave of human ships began launching from their hidden bases. Unlike the aliens' massive vessels that broadcast their power and presence, human ships were designed for stealth and efficiency. They appeared on sensors as small civilian craft right up until the moment they opened fire." Elena was monitoring communications from the alien fleets. "They're detecting unusual activity in human space, but their analysis still shows us as massively outgunned. Thalamora is confident they can crush our desperate last stand within hours." Victoria's smile was predatory. "Let them think that. How long until they realize what they're actually facing? First contact with alien forward scouts in 6 hours. They'll get their answer then." The war room filled with controlled activity as humanity's greatest military operation began to unfold. Ships that had been secretly constructed over decades moved into position. Weapons that existed only in theoretical papers were loaded with live ammunition. Defense systems that no alien civilization could detect powered up for the first time. "Captain," Chen's shuttle docked with the command station, and she entered the war room still wearing her diplomatic uniform. Victoria looked up from the tactical displays. How did they react when you walked out? Exactly as we expected. Confident, dismissive, certain of their superiority. Chen moved to the main display, studying the alien fleet positions. They gave us a week, but they're planning to attack in 3 days. They want to catch us off guard. Are they going to catch us off guard? Victoria asked. Chen's smile was sharp as a blade. Admiral, they have no idea what they're about to face. For 200 years, humanity has been preparing for the possibility that peaceful contact might not be possible. We studied every species, learned every technology, planned every scenario. And if we're wrong? If they're stronger than we calculated? Dr. Vasquez spoke up from her monitoring station. Then we activate the Omega protocols and show them what human desperation really looks like. Victoria nodded grimly. The Omega protocols were humanity's final option. Weapons so dangerous that using them would change the nature of warfare in the galaxy forever. They were built on principles that alien science said were impossible, powered by technologies that existed at the very edge of human understanding. Hopefully, they would never be necessary. All stations, this is Admiral Stone, Victoria announced, to the fleet. In approximately 60 hours, we will be engaged in the most important battle in human history. Our enemy believes we are weak, primitive, and easily defeated. They are about to learn otherwise. Across human space, the last preparations began. Weapons charged, shields powered up, and crews took their positions. The galaxy was about to discover that humanity's greatest strength had never been their technology or their numbers. It was their ability to prepare for the unthinkable, and then do whatever was necessary to survive. The new Galactic Order. The Battle of Proxima Centauri lasted exactly 17 minutes. Admiral Victoria Stone watched from the bridge of the UHS Defiance as the combined alien fleet of 5,000 ships met humanity's response force of 800 vessels. The aliens had expected a desperate last stand by a primitive species. Instead, they encountered technology that violated everything they thought they knew about physics. The first alien ships to die were the crystalline hegemony's forward scouts. Dr. Vasquez's phase displacement weapons simply made them cease to exist in normal space-time, leaving behind empty patches of void where crystal dreadnoughts had been moments before. Commander Vextar's personal hive ship, a massive vessel that could berth smaller craft during battle, met a different fate. Quantum disruption torpedoes unraveled the molecular bonds holding its chitin armor together, causing the kilometer-long ship to dissolve like sugar in water. The Energy Collective's light-based vessels discovered that humanity had developed weapons, specifically designed to target beings of pure energy. Reality anchor systems forced their ethereal forms into fixed positions where conventional weapons could destroy them. Admiral, Lieutenant Commander Alex Rivera reported from his tactical station. Enemy fleet strength down by 60%. They're attempting to retreat. Victoria studied the holographic display showing the battle from multiple angles. The alien formations, so confident and organized when they had arrived, were now in complete chaos. Ships were fleeing in every direction, their commanders' voices filling communication channels with panic and confusion. Let them go, Victoria ordered. We want survivors to carry the message back. Captain Sarah Chen, now serving as diplomatic liaison, approached from the communication station. Admiral, we're receiving surrender signals from 17 alien commanders. They're requesting immediate ceasefire and asking for terms. Too late for that, Victoria replied coldly. They had their chance for negotiation. Now they get to experience the consequences of their choices. Across the galaxy, similar scenes were playing out at every major alien stronghold. Human ships that had been dismissed as impossible threats were systematically dismantling military installations that had stood for centuries. The careful intelligence gathering of 200 years was paying off as human forces struck with surgical precision at every critical weakness in alien defenses. Dr. Elena Vasquez emerged from the science bay, her expression grim. Admiral, we've analyzed the biological weapons the insectoid swarm was planning to use on human colonies. It's worse than we thought. Victoria turned from the display. How much worse? The pathogens were designed to alter human brain chemistry permanently, not just reduce aggression, but eliminate curiosity, creativity, and the drive to explore. They were planning to turn us into a species of workers with no ambition beyond basic survival. The revelation sent a chill through the bridge crew. They had been fighting for human freedom, but now they understood they had been fighting for the very essence of what made them human. Any other surprises in their plans? Victoria asked. Elena consulted her tablet. The Energy Collective had calculated optimal human population levels for resource extraction. They were planning to reduce us to approximately 50 million individuals spread across designated farming worlds and the crystalline hegemony. They saw humans as potentially useful for dangerous labor in environments that would kill their crystalline forms. Essentially, we would have become their expendable workforce for hazardous operations. Captain Chen received an urgent transmission from Earth Command. Admiral, we're getting reports from our sleeper agents across alien space. The civilian populations are in panic. They're receiving reports of human ships appearing seemingly from nowhere and destroying military targets they thought were impregnable. Victoria activated the galaxy-wide communication system, broadcasting on every frequency that alien civilizations used for emergency coordination. This is Admiral Victoria Stone of the Terran Defense Force, speaking to all alien civilizations currently engaged in hostilities against humanity. Her voice carried across hundreds of star systems, reaching alien leaders who had never imagined they would hear terms of surrender from the species they had planned to subjugate. 6 months ago, you began attacking human colonies and shipping. 3 days ago, your representatives offered us a choice between slavery and extinction. You assumed we were weak because we preferred negotiation to conflict. You were wrong. In the crystalline hegemony's capital system, Thalmora listened to the transmission from her damaged command ship. Around her, the crystal spires that had stood for millennia were dark, their power cores destroyed by weapons that had struck from impossible distances. Your military forces have been neutralized across all major systems, Victoria continued. Your ability to wage war against humanity no longer exists. However, we are not interested in conquest or revenge. Vextar, monitoring the transmission from his emergency bunker beneath Hive Prime, clicked his mandibles in confusion. The humans had achieved total victory in less than 72 hours, but they were offering terms instead of demanding unconditional surrender. Effective immediately, humanity is establishing the Terran Protection Protocol. Any species that renounces aggressive expansion and commits to peaceful development will be guaranteed protection under human military oversight. The Energy Collective's governing consciousness processed this information with growing amazement. The humans were offering to protect the very civilizations that had tried to destroy them. This is not an empire, Victoria explained. This is a federation of mutual defense. Human fleets will patrol trade routes, protect smaller species from aggression, and maintain peace through strength. In return, member species will contribute to collective security and respect the territorial sovereignty of all Federation members. Dr. Vasquez approached with the final intelligence reports from across alien space. Admiral, we're receiving acceptance signals from over 200 species. The 3 major powers that attacked us are requesting emergency summits to discuss terms. Victoria nodded. Set up negotiations, but this time we dictate the conditions. Captain Chen, you'll lead the diplomatic team. Sarah straightened her uniform. What are our terms? Complete disarmament of aggressive military forces, reparations for human casualties and destroyed property. Most importantly, they provide full intelligence on any other hostile civilizations in unexplored regions of the galaxy. And if they refuse? Victoria's expression was harder than military grade. Steel. Then we show them what the Omega protocols look like in action. 3 weeks later, Station Nexus hosted another summit. The same chamber where alien representatives had offered humanity the choice between slavery and extinction now witnessed. Those same representatives signing documents that established humanity as the galaxy's primary peacekeeping force. Thalmora's crystalline form had dimmed significantly since their last meeting. Captain Chen, I must ask, how long have your people been preparing for this conflict? Sarah consulted her notes thoughtfully. Which conflict? The one that just ended? or the one we've been preparing for since we first detected radio signals. From other civilizations? You mean, we've been listening to galactic communications for over 3 centuries. We knew about your civilizations long before you discovered us. We studied your languages, your technologies, your military doctrines, and your expansion patterns. Vextar's translator buzzed with disbelief. You planned for war before we ever made contact? We planned for every possibility, Sarah replied. We hoped for peace, prepared for cooperation. But yes, we also prepared for the scenario where peaceful coexistence proved impossible. Zephyral's consciousness flickered with something approaching respect. Your species planned for outcomes that had not yet occurred, based on data you gathered without our knowledge. This level of strategic thinking is beyond our calculations. Dr. Webb, who had returned as Sarah's advisor, leaned forward. You made the mistake of assuming that a species capable of interstellar travel would be naive about galactic politics. We spent centuries watching civilizations rise and fall, studying the patterns of conquest and expansion. And you concluded that conflict was inevitable? Thalmora asked. We concluded that peace required the ability to enforce peace, Sarah replied. You attacked us because you thought we were weak. Other species will attack Federation members for the same reason, but they'll think twice when they know that any act of aggression means facing the full weight of human military technology. The signing ceremony was broadcast across the galaxy. Representatives from hundreds of species watched as the Terran protection protocol was established, creating a new order based on mutual defense rather than aggressive expansion. Admiral Stone observed the ceremony from Earth, where celebrations were already beginning in every major city. Humanity had not only survived its first galactic conflict, but had emerged as the dominant military force in their region of space. Admiral, Dr. Vasquez said, joining her at the observation deck overlooking the Pacific. What happens now? Victoria watched the sunrise paint the sky in brilliant colors. Now we do what we've always done. We prepare for what comes next. Which is? There are approximately 400 billion stars in this galaxy, and we've only made contact with civilizations around a few thousand of them. Somewhere out there are species that make our recent opponents look like children playing with toys. Dr. Vasquez considered this soberly. And when we meet them? Victoria's smile contained the same confidence that had carried humanity from the caves of Earth to the stars beyond. When we meet them, they'll discover what every aggressive species in the galaxy is about to learn. Humanity doesn't just survive threats. We eliminate them. The Terran Protection Protocol would grow to encompass most of the known galaxy within a generation. Human fleets would patrol trade routes, protect developing civilizations, and maintain peace through the simple knowledge that attacking anyone under human protection meant facing consequences beyond imagination. But that was still in the future. For now, humanity had established itself as the galaxy's protector, not through conquest, but through the enemy's own invitation. Sometimes the greatest victory comes not from proving your strength in battle, but from demonstrating the wisdom to use that strength only when absolutely necessary. The galaxy had learned that humans were not the primitive barbarians they had feared. They were something far more dangerous, protectors who would go to any length to defend what they considered theirs. And now, the galaxy itself was under their protection.